Good morning, everyone. Is my mic working? Yes, it is. Good. It's good to see you again. I'm tired. I took last weekend off because I was tired, and I am still tired. I got a couple good nights sleep in earlier in the week, and then I went right back to waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and this is great. It's great. It's totally what I want. Almost finished my tea. There we go. Anyway, welcome back. It's time for more Ace Attorney. Yeah, I'm tired. I took last weekend off because I wanted to like rest and also like work on other things. Because in case you don't know, we're like less than a month away from my 3-year streaming anniversary. And as I am wont to do, I wanted to make a cover song. I have only started on the sketch for the art of the MV. I have not started recording anything because I didn't feel confident enough with my vocals. I am running out of time. And so last weekend I was just like, yeah, I'll work on that, and then I didn't because I was too tired. I'm still tired. I woke up at 4 a.m. today, which is, great for a Saturday. But alas, it is what my body is doing, I guess. So today we're going to play more Ace Attorney. My voice is probably going to die from all of the voice acting. I'm probably just like normally I want to go for the whole 3 hours like I normally do. If my voice starts dying, I may just go like, yeah, that's it for today. I'm done. But we'll see how we go. Yeah. Also, I still haven't gotten a third contestant for Clueless Quiz Time. I was gonna do that last week, and then I didn't because I was too tired. I couldn't handle social interaction. I am still too tired, but I'll try to reach out to someone. Anyway, game time. Who's ready for game time? Hopefully the audio is fine. I didn't check it. I didn't check it before going live. Anyway, Turnabout Legacy Ladder. Investigating the Fountain Room Part 1. Why is my throat already not happy with me? What the fuck? I haven't even started doing voices yet. Also, if at any point I start dropping frames, blame the fact that it was raining this morning. It's summer, so it's been like really hot, but then we've also gotten random bouts of rain all over the place. Little Knight doing a hop in the corner. Oh, also, by the way, anyone who's watching like the VOD on YouTube, you may have noticed that I've stopped uploading YouTube Shorts. I've decided for the time being I'm not going to worry about that sort of crap anymore because it was just sort of like feeding the algorithm without really doing anything that I was particularly fond of. So I'm just like, yeah, let's not. Let's just focus on making things that I'm actually happy with instead of just pumping stuff out for the sake of the algorithm. Anyway, we've learned a little more about the participants. But there's still one question involving Mr. Gusto for which we never got an answer. Nothing at all, Mr. Gusto? You went into Mr. Frost's room, didn't you? Perhaps you could tell us why. Sure, I was... Silence! That sounds more like fucking Simon Blackwell than Von Karma. You are not to give the attorney even the tiniest shred of information. Why did they make his voice so fucking deep? What was he doing in Mr. Frost's room? And that's not all. I also have questions about the work he submitted for the semi-finals. A confectioner who admits to lacking design sense and a sculptor with it in spades. Mr. Gusto could not have hoped to win such a high-level contest by himself. Which is why I'm beginning to wonder if there was some sort of connection between him and Mr. Frost. Detective, I need to ask Mr. Gusto a few more questions. His story still doesn't quite add up to me. It's quite add up for me. Me neither. We need to figure out how to get in touch with him. Oh, do you now? I don't know who the fuck this is. Oh, hi. Hi, Mr. Von Karma. Good luck with that, because I have no intention of allowing it. Mr. Von Karma. I am already in the midst of my own investigation into Gusto, so there is no need for the likes of you to pester him with the same questions again. I will, however, be happy to answer any questions you might have. He seems dead set on preventing me from talking to Mr. Gusto, in which case, fine, then allow me to take you up on your offer. Very well, what is it? I'd like you to tell me about the connection between Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost. Oh, we're already going into one of these. Gusto and Frost connection. The connection between Gusto and Frost? It is simply a matter of coincidence. They both happen to be taking part in the same contest. That's it. That's the whole testimony, okay. Great. Nice. And that's all? That's all I have to say to you. What? But that doesn't help us at all. We'll have to confront him with evidence if we want to draw the truth out of him. And it's imperative that we do. He's clearly hiding something. Gusto and Frost connection. Connection. Matter of coincidence. Do I present the photo from the semifinals, or do I press? We'll press first, just in case. Granted, it may have simply been a connection that they both entered the same competition, but that doesn't rule out a connection of some other kind between the two of them. I do hate to repeat myself, but if you do not have any pertinent evidence, then kindly keep your mouth shut. Guess I'll just do as he says for now. At least until I find the evidence that proves Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost's connection. I mean, we do have it, I just wasn't sure if I was supposed to press or present. Still, the look in your eyes speaks volumes. Well, go on then. What are you trying to say? Make up your mind, will you? Should I keep my mouth shut or not? It seems Mr. Von Karma is keen on keeping us away from the truth. Which means the truth must be inconvenient for him somehow, right? Mr. Gusto and Frost had something in common. I just need to present the thing they shared to Mr. Von Karma. It's the dessert. They had different designs but tasted the same. I wonder if you could look at the two confections in the foreground for me, Mr. Von Karma. They were made for the contest semi-finals. Both are quite exquisitely crafted, wouldn't you agree? Get to the point. As the nameplate suggests, these were Mr. Gusto and Mr. Frost's entries. Mr. Gusto told us that confectionery design was far from his strong suit, and yet his work in the picture is just as good as Mr. Frost's. Exactly as good, in fact. We learned from another witness that their two entries also tasted exactly the same. What are you suggesting? Adjusts tie. I am suggesting that they were helping one another out. Let's take a closer look, shall we? While at first glance the two may appear to be superficially different, it soon becomes apparent that there are significant similarities in how they are put together. They are made of the same ingredients, taste the same, and share a similar design aesthetic. This picture is proof positive that the two were working together. If you figured out that much, I suppose there's little point in denying it. Mr. Von Karma knew all along that they were cooperating. But I'll warn you, none of what you're about to hear will be to your advantage. If you say so. Gusto and Frost's real connection. Hold on, let me just move this out of the way so I can actually see the audio levels and such. Let me confirm what you seem so desperate to prove. Gusto and Frost were indeed working together. Gusto spelled out the details of his relationship to Frost during his questioning last night. It seems they were helping one another right up until the day before the final. So, you knew the two were cooperating. Mr. Von Karma, why are you trying to bury the truth? Please, enough of the petty slander. I merely wanted to avoid you poking your nose around before I could provide proper context in court. It simply slipped my mind to explain that to you. Doesn't explain why he's being so slippery with the facts, though. I need to figure out what it is he's hiding. I can't let things end like this. Okie dokie. I guess for now we'll just press. So you did know there was a connection between the two. Why were you trying to hide it? I don't just hand out information like candy, and certainly not to the defense. Finger snap. Not like that lollipop nursing fool of a detective over there. Oh, is this where Francisca got the fool thing from? You do things your way, and I'll do them mine. And you wonder why I refuse to share information with a traitor like you. Press. Last night, after Mr. Frost's work melted, correct? Yes, I interviewed Gusto personally. Yeesh, another one-on-one with Mr. Von Karma. That must have been terrifying. I imagine Mr. Gusto probably meditated his way through the difficult parts. Probably meditated his way through the difficult parts. He most certainly did not. Every time he closed his eyes. I brought him back with an almighty slap. No one dares plead the fifth with me. That's not... No. Did that even work on him? And that is how I was able to perfectly learn every last detail of Gusto and Frost's relationship. Helping one another right up until the day before the final. But why were they cooperating? Gusto's sense of design is subpar, and Frost was an amateur confectioner at best. Neither of them stood a chance of making it through the contest alone. So what was their endgame? Why cooperate only until the day before the finals? Gusto claims to have ended the scheme. Allegedly, he wanted to win the finals on his own merits. His one and only goal was to be crowned the world's best confectioner. And his pride would not allow him to do so with the help of another. Cheaters only ever win hollow victories, I guess. I was under the impression that their collaboration had only lasted through the semi-finals. But I'm starting to think it might have lasted up through the final itself. Mr. Von Karma, I'd like to ask you some more about how long they worked together, if you don't mind. If you must. Gusto's sense of design is subpar, and Frost was an amateur confectioner at best. Two cooperated until the day before the final, then decided to compete on their own merits. Do we have anything for that? Frost's sculptures were scrumptious, but He's an amateur confectioner. Is this what we want? I should probably press first. Just in case.
Hold it.
Here's the thing, I know where the story goes, I don't remember what the contradictions are. Before you ask, I'm not objecting to your characterization of Mr. Gusto's design sense. Yeah, he admitted himself he isn't all that great. He made what he alleged to be a likeness of me. Just thinking of the abomination he came out with turns my stomach. Yeah, I kinda like the guy's work. An artistically rich amateur and an artistically impoverished professional. In a way, it was inevitable that they would wind up working together. Cooperate until the day before the finals. You really believe that they were cooperating until the day before the finals and then just simply stopped? That seems a little strange to me, wouldn't you agree? I have told you the truth. Whether you find it strange or not is none of my concern. He was concerned enough to try and hide it from me only a few minutes ago, though. Which means there must have been a reason for that. Based on Mr. Tangaroa's assessment, it sounded as if Mr. Frost's entry for the final was the clear winner. Which means he must have still been working with Gusto, right? That's precisely what I was thinking. I must have some evidence that proves they were cooperating right up through the finals. Okay. Okay, so is it just seal, Crams's Saltland, finger marks, luminous cloth, fake confections, instant camera, frost's ruin? This is the only thing I can think of. That, like, it still tasted good, so he must have had help.
Objection.
Yeah! They weren't working together during the finals? I find that a little hard to believe. Hold on, I need to adjust how I'm sitting. Need to sit back in my chair and not ruin my back. Miss Scone is on the record as having described Mr. Frost's creations as scrumptious. And while he was certainly skilled, I doubt even he could have become a world-class confectioner overnight. It seems more likely to me that he and Mr. Gusto were still cooperating during the finals. How many times must I explain this to you? Assertions require proof, and one person's entirely subjective statement is not proof of anything. Besides, even amateurs can occasionally make delicious food. Perhaps Frost was simply lucky. My wife, for example, is an amateur whose cooking puts first-class chefs to shame. That is not proof of anything. How is that not an entirely subjective statement? Furthermore, you are ignoring another crucial part of the pharmacist's testimony, namely that she also described some of Frost's work as having been unbearably salty. In other words, your evidence actually shows that Frost failed to produce the perfect confectionery. No more objections, I take it. There must be some way I can prove that Gusto and Frost were still collaborating. Mr. E? There's something that's been on my mind. Yes? What is it, Eddie? Mr. Frost's entry for the finals, wouldn't it have taken a while to make? I would imagine so. Making flavored water, freezing it all, and then carving 2 whole sculptures? Could he really have done all that and helped Mr. Gusto with his work? If it was me, I'd have barely gotten as far as setting the flavored water up to freeze part. Yeah, I missed a "the" in that sentence, but don't worry about it. I just can't see how Mr. Frost could have pulled it off. Perhaps there's some loyalty instinct in you after all, Eddie. The fucking face he pulls. Oh, and then he's gonna eat it. Your ponderings certainly point to another possibility. Question mark? Eddie's right. Mr. Frost would have needed to freeze his own large blocks of flavored ice to create his art. And there wouldn't have been time to do that during the contest itself. So what must Mr. Frost have done in order to finish his flavored ice entry within the time limit? He made the ice the day before the final. He must have made the flavored ice the day before. Then all he would have had to do was sculpt it. What are you muttering about now? Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized something, that's all. I realized that you're correct. What? Mr. E? I hope you know what you're doing. Oh, accepting defeat at last, are we? The only thing I'm accepting is that perhaps one of the things you said was true. They were helping one another right up until the day before the final. Just as you said, the day before the final really did mark the end of their collaboration. Mr. Frost's entry was carved entirely from blocks of flavored ice. Ice which would have needed at least a day to freeze. And whose flavors would therefore have already been prepared by Mr. Gusto. Yes, which lines up perfectly with what Mr. Gusto told me, that he helped Frost until the day before the final. In which case, why didn't Mr. Frost reciprocate and help Mr. Gusto in return? I can hardly be expected to read the minds of the dead.
Objection.
Perhaps not, but I imagine Mr. Gusto could tell us, so why don't you let us speak with him? Or do you still insist your interrogation was as thorough as you claim? How dare you question my methods into question? Or call my methods into question. That's not my intention. I just don't understand why you would obstruct a perfectly valid line of inquiry. Give me one good reason as to why you're keeping Mr. Gusto from me. One good reason, certainly. The how and why of Frost's collaboration have absolutely no bearing on this case.
Objection.
They really don't. I mean, they don't not have any impact. They do have words. How can you possibly say that with any certainty? If their relationship had broken down for some reason, that could very well have been the motive behind this murder. Could it indeed? Then why did Gusto himself tell me all about it? Why did the man you seem so keen on accusing share the details of his collaboration with the prosecution? Please tell me you have some proof to back up your preposterous suspicions this time. Mr. Gusto only acted suspiciously one time that we know of. And I imagine Mr. Von Karma is aware of exactly what that suspicious action was. Which means this is probably a trap. Well, cat got your tongue. But even if this is a trap, I can't back down now. Mr. Gusto snuck into Mr. Frost's room, and we still don't know why. That fact alone is reason enough to suspect him. If that's your only concern, then allow me to clear it up for you. I knew it. It was a trap. I was saving this for the trial, but consider it a taste of things to come. Plus, I'd hate for the proceedings to drag on because of your needless interjections. Here, take a look at this. Get a load of this. That's Gusto and Frost, and their sons. Family photo. Gusto snuck into Frost's room in order to retrieve this photograph. But why? It seems their sons attended the same elementary school. Gusto was concerned that the fact of Mr. Frost and his acquaintance might might place him under undue suspicion. A concern that you have just proved was entirely well-founded. Gusto's actions make perfect sense, and you have given me no reason to believe otherwise. No! He's never going to let me talk to Mr. Gusto. Now, if you are quite done obstructing my investigation, I have things to be getting on with. Salute. That smug, self-righteous jerk. I'll give him something to be getting on with. What do we do, Mr. E? Mr. Tangaroa is finished if we can't figure something out. Things to be getting on with? What exactly could those things be? He has a body, a murder weapon, and a suspect in custody. If the prosecution means to pursue Mr. Tangaroa, surely they have all they need. So why is Mr. Von Karma still investigating the scene of the crime? Something on your mind, Mr. E? We're missing something. Something important. Mr. Von Karma has everything he needs to proceed with the prosecution of Mr. Tangaroa. And yet, he still doesn't seem entirely confident of his case. If he was, why refuse to share information with Detective Bad? Who else? I haven't seen the autopsy report yet either. Guy's probably got a hand in that too. 24 hours post-murder, and there's still no autopsy report. In addition, we still haven't solved the mystery of what's happened to the evidence that went missing. Take another look at the scene in front of us, Detective. A very conspicuous pool of blood that should be here is clearly missing. Missing victim's blood. None of the victim's blood was found in Tangaroa's room. Exclamation mark. You're right. Don't remember anybody mentioning they've removed the blood along with the body. Evidence that turned up not in Mr. Tangaroa's room, but in a most unusual place. It's a match. The blood in the fountain is Frost's. Frost's blood was detected in the water of the fountain. So there were no trace of Mr. Frost's blood left in Mr. Tangaroa's room, yet we found some in the fountain instead. Why? Logic time! I assume blood in the fountain, missing blood. They just put the blood in the fountain to get it away from the room. Mr. Frost's blood went missing from the scene of the crime, but traces of it showed up in the fountain. Why go through the trouble of removing the blood from the scene after the body had been discovered? And why only the blood? Surely the body would have also been in the way. Wait, could someone have moved the body aside to get to the blood? Did somebody move the body aside in order to get to the blood that was in the chest? Gasp! No autopsy report. Body moved aside? Gasp! So the body might have been moved aside, or even removed from the crime scene entirely. Also, I bumped the mic cord. Apologies for that, if you heard that. After all, as far as we know, there's still no autopsy report. We've learned plenty about the murder weapon and the suspect, but very little about the body itself. Our assumption thus far has been that the body had been recovered by the forensics team. But what if that assumption is false? What if Mr. Von Karma wouldn't show Detective Bad the autopsy report out of something other than spite? What if we've been thinking about this the wrong way around all along? The question isn't why did Mr. Von Karma hold back information about the body? It's did Mr. Von Karma even have any information about the body in the first place? Gasp! I knew this was coming, so I can't be too surprised. How do things look from that angle? Perhaps the body hadn't been removed by the police in order to carry out an autopsy. Perhaps it had already been removed and hidden away by the culprit before their arrival. Mr. E? We've both heard the rumors about Mr. Von Karma's questionable methods. Fabricated witness statements, shady deals, forged evidence even. Sure, everybody's heard of that stuff. But what's that got to do with us right now? I would never judge a person on the basis of rumors alone. Even Mr. Von Karma. I've tried my best to not let my preconceptions color our interactions with him. Nonetheless, it appears he may be willing to twist the truth to his own ends. Twist the truth? You mean he's been playing dirty? I fear he might have been, and still is. And I'm not about to let him get away with it. I'm returning to the prosecutor's office. Don't breathe a word about anything to that infernal attorney. Yes, sir.
Hold it.
That is way too soft of a hold it for a face like that. Yes, what is it now? I have a few questions, Mr. Von Karma. About a certain fact you've been keeping from us. Really? You mean to call the methods of an officially sanctioned investigation into question yet again? I'm warning you. If you obstruct the police in their work any further, there will be consequences.
Objection.
It's not the police I have an issue with, Mr. Von Karma. It's you. What? Isn't it on the prosecution to work out who the real culprit of a crime is? What foolishness is this? I have no intention of debating what the prosecution's role is or is not with the likes of you. But let me make one thing clear. My job is to identify suspects and ensure that every last one of them is convicted at all costs. Believe me when I say, I leave absolutely no room for doubt when I present my perfect, unassailable cases.
Objection.
And how far would you go for your perfect cases? Would you create facts out of whole cloth, perhaps? Ha! And I thought you had outdone yourself already. But now you intend to accuse me of fabricating evidence? I do. Because it is why you've done nothing but hinder Detective Bad from doing his job at every turn. What are you talking about? You didn't shut him out of the investigation because you wanted him to keep an eye on us. You did it to stop him from finding out that you don't have the body. What? He doesn't have the body? Ridiculous! You're clutching at straws. I will tolerate no more of your preposterous slander. Then allow us to examine it. Prove me wrong, if you can. I'm afraid you'll have to try a little harder than that. I am under no obligation whatsoever to prove your baseless accusations one way or the other.
Objection.
As you must have seen for yourself, a piece of bloodied chocolate is missing from the scene of the crime. Why did it disappear, and where did it go? What does it matter? Some blood went missing from the chest where the body was found? So what? So what indeed? That's precisely my question. If the body was still at the scene when the police got here, removing the blood would accomplish nothing. However, let us suppose for a moment that the body was not. If someone had wanted to erase any trace of what happened in that room, then it all makes perfect sense. What is this petty obsession with the blood stain? I cannot wait until Von Karma is off screen and I don't have to deal with his voice anymore. But since it's so important to you, why don't you tell me where you believe it went? Of course. After all, evidence is everything, as you never tire of telling us. I believe this should back up my theory quite nicely. What evidence do I have that shows where the blood from Mr. Tangaroa's room went? Is it... Where's the... Seal, crime scene notes... Do we not have something about the... Oh, there. Found in the fountain.
Take that.
I was looking for like a note. that had like odd forensic results or something. Traces of the victim's blood were found in the fountain, along with traces of the chocolate from Mr. Tangaroa's room. I believe the missing piece of the blood-stained chocolate was dumped into the stream that flows to the fountain, which strongly points towards one certain fact. Someone purposely disposed of the blood after the body had been removed from the chest. Adjust tie. Mr. Von Karma, where did you find the body? You didn't find it, did you? Answer me. You. Where did you get your hands on that kind of evidence? You have neither the authority nor the means to carry out that kind of analysis on the fountain water. No, but I do. Curse you, bad. You've been nothing but a thorn in my side from the moment you were assigned. Well, no longer. As of now, you are officially off the case. I was barely on it in the first place. Mr. Von Karma, you still haven't answered my question. Will you admit it? Will you confirm that no body was ever recovered? It's really quite the claim, you know. And one for which you'll never find any proof for, I'm afraid. What must I do to get an answer out of him? Now, if you don't mind, I have given you quite enough of my precious time already. I look forward to destroying you in court, Gregory Edgeworth. Your precious logic and theories won't save you then. Nothing will. Mark my words, Mr. Von Karma. Your methods will be your undoing. No matter how you try to hide the truth, I'll bring it all to light in the end. And then he has to walk all the way around. Oh no, he's going up to the elevator, okay. Forgive me, Detective. I didn't mean to put you in a difficult position. Don't sweat it. It was always gonna end this way. Honestly. Nobody's ever sidelined me the way he did before. First time for everything, huh? You know, I think you might be right about the body being missing. I am, and I'll prove it in court. Well, if there's anything I can do to help, just say the word. Since, you know, I'm off the case now. It's very kind. And I'm sorry to keep asking favors of you, Detective Bad, but there is one more thing. Hey, what are you guys whispering about? Come on, let me in on the secret. Alright, Eddie. The detective and I were just arranging a little insurance for the trial. I think we have enough to see Mr. Tangaroa acquitted. But I'd prefer to have an ace in the hole, just in case. And? What is it? You'll find out in the courtroom. Wait, what? You're letting me join you? Of course I am. You are my assistant after all. Huh. I'll be more than that by next year. I'll be a fully fledged attorney, you know. Eddie, you are 18. There are admittedly characters who have become lawyers at that early an age. Usually prosecutors. I think Athena's the only attorney who's become, like, defense attorney who's become a lawyer that young. We could take on Mr. Von Karma together. Indeed. Though I'm hoping we'll have freed Mr. Tangaroa by then. But if we're teaming up against Mr. Von Karma, I guess we can't rule out the possibility that this might take some time. Right, but we'll do everything we can in the meantime. I know you can beat Mr. Von Karma, Mr. E. I believe in you. We're finally done with the past. We can't allow Mr. Tangaroa to remain in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And we won't. I'll expose Mr. Von Karma's lies if it's the last thing I do. Oh, it will be. It will be. To be continued. No more Von Karma, let's go. I don't know if Bad shows up in a later case, but For now, no more bad either. But I will still have to deal with Gumshoe's voice. Ladder, identity of the body. April 2nd, 2:10 p.m. Zodiac Hall Fountain Room. And that's pretty much how things went down. Those are the facts of the IS-7. Those are the facts of IS-7 as far as I'm concerned. I'm finally learning the truth about my father's lost case. So what happened at the trial? Well, we lost. Von Karma did a real number on us. Really? You couldn't prove that Mr. Tangaroa was innocent? Shrug. Oh, we could prove it all right. Had a decent little pile of evidence in our favor. Problem was, we underestimated Von Karma. He fought even dirtier than we'd feared. I can imagine. Secure conviction at all costs. That was always his guiding principle. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Anywho, the trial dragged on and on. Whole thing took about a year to end. I'll never forget the day the verdict came down. December 28th that following year. It's April now, so... Oh, mama, we're talking over 17 years ago? Time sure does fly, huh? December 28th. I was there that day, 17 years ago, sitting in the courtroom gallery. Just before the trial got started, Gregory noticed that Samson was looking even worse than usual. Oh, that one. That was supposed to be... Fender, okay. Turns out the poor guy had finally reached his limit. It was so bad he even said he wanted to be found guilty. Wait, you mean they forced a confession out of him? Yeah. Von Karma got what he'd been pushing for from the very beginning. And when Gregory tried to drop the bombshell about there being no body to speak of, he learned that Von Karma had used the power of the police to head him off at the pass. Even had himself a fake autopsy report. That wasn't the end of it. Von Karma had gotten Samson to falsely testify against himself to being an accessory to murder in court. Combined with his confession, the poor guy's goose was well and truly cooked. But Gregory still had his ace in the hole, though. The same ace he asked Detective Bad to help him with. Exactamundo! He knew he needed one last card to play if they squeezed a confession out of Samson. So he had Bad record all of Samson's interrogations. I guess Detective Bad really wanted to know the truth too, huh? We all did, but he was a trooper. Stayed with the case even after Von Karma took him out of it. He was tied up in some other big case too. Good old Bad. They don't make him like that anymore. I wonder if this is like what pushed him towards... Well, that's spoilers for the first game. I guess we'll pretend I didn't say that. And there's Gregory without the coat and the hat. Anyway, Gregory presented the recordings as proof that Samson's confession was coerced. And you know what? It almost worked. A cop named Ian Sideman got fired. Okay, so I don't know where Ian comes from, but obviously Sideman? Oh, Ian Sideman, inside man. You know, he's got a guy on the inside. In the fan translation, Ian Sideman was named Rip Placer. Oh no, Rip Lacer. Because he replaced Detective Bad on the case. Samson's interrogator and the initial detective before Bad. He took the fall for pretty much the whole thing. But Von Karma didn't get away scot-free. In fact, he was disciplined by the chief prosecutor. For the one and only time in his 40-year career. Still, Samson himself couldn't stomach another day in court. So when that guilty verdict came down, it didn't just signal the end of that day, but the whole sad affair. Don't remember a lot myself, but my father's face when they declared Mr. Tangaroa guilty. I don't remember but my father's face when they declared Mr. Tangaroa guilty, ... I was a young child at the time, but even I could tell how much he was hurting inside. Gregory wanted to appeal the ruling, of course. He would have done anything to clear Samson's name. But then, well, you know what happened next. Poor guy. He never got the chance. Hold on a second. If Eddie was only 36, I guess that's what a 36-year-old looks like. How old is Gumshoe, actually? Gumshoe's younger than Eddie. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then this is just literally just the image from the first game. I should have left with him that day. I'll always blame myself for not doing that. But I shoved that aside and obsessed over something else instead. Or rather, someone else. I hated what you did. Hated you for choosing to stick with Von Karma. I hope you can forgive me. No, you had every right to hate me. I went on to become a prosecutor as planned. And that's when Mr. Von Karma showed me this case file. According to these records, Mr. Tangaroa was convicted as the main culprit of Mr. Frost's murder. Nope. That's not right. Samson was convicted as an accessory to murder. Strange. The file clearly states he was the perpetrator. Plus, I'm fairly certain that all of Mr. Von Karma's cases were successfully solved. Mind if I take a peek at those? This file's been doctored. The part about the verdict, it's been changed. What? Here, feast your peepers on this. Verdict, convicted as an accomplice based on his confession. Convicted as an accomplice? That's a copy of the file they have on record at the courthouse. Then why is my copy so different? Well, you said it came from Von Karma, yeah? My guess he didn't want Gregory's son thinking there was a murderer still out there at large. Didn't want you looking into it again before the statute of limitations was up. So everything I believed about the case was a lie. Like they say, we all gotta start somewhere. What's important is you know what's what now. Statute of limitations may have run out, but the truth's still out there, you know. I'm gonna have my throat lozenge. It's only been an hour, but Von Karma wrecked my throat. So, you know. The fucking thing doesn't want to open. Individually wrapped throat lozenges. That's how you know it's the good stuff. Okay. I inherited Samson's case when your old man passed. Prosecution handed it off to somebody else too. The great Von Karma wasn't going to bother facing off against a rookie like me, was he? Anyway, long story short, the killer was never found, and Samson was found guilty instead. That's terrible! Is there really nothing we can do to help him? Not without the real perp, I'm afraid. Until then, his confession stands. Speaking of which, I didn't find out until after the verdict had been handed down, but Von Karma had threatened Samson and made him a deal. Told him if he didn't confess, he'd make sure Judy was convicted instead. How could he? That does not look like the right expression, Kay. Samson knew there was no way Judy could have done it, of course. But he wasn't going to take any chances, so he did what he was told and confessed to keep her safe. Now riddle me this, Milesy boy. Why do you think your Uncle Eddie just happened to be in the prison the day Bronco Knight was killed? The day Bronco Knight died? That's right. You were there to see Mr. Tangaroa? Bingo! Judy and I both promised we'd visit him every day. I didn't quite keep that promise, but Judy did. She never missed one in all these years. One visit in all these years. Come rain or shine, she always showed up. None of that changes the fact that Samson is still being unduly punished day after day. How heartbreaking. We've got to do something, Mr. Fender. Shrug. Well, kiddo, that's actually why we came here. The ice sculptures are back on display, just like they were all those years ago. And we're gonna see what we can find out. Right, Malzarino? I'm a prosecutor, Fender. I don't look at these things in the same way as you or my father. Sorry, if you hear that, I'm like kicking around the boxes from last month's Lego building stream. They're still sitting under my desk. Miles. That doesn't matter right now. Speaking not as a prosecutor, but as Miles Edgeworth. I want to know the truth behind both of these cases. And I'm not leaving until I do. You really are old Gregory's son through and through. Alrighty then. Now that that's sorted, we can really get to work. Good thing I brought the IS-7 case file and evidence with me today, huh? And now we get all the old evidence. Here, documents first. Who doesn't love paperwork, am I right? The parts in red ink are my... the parts in red ink are my annotations. Including his comments in red. I'm guessing they are actually orange. Because that's the color they typically use to use in the text to represent important stuff. Thank you, Fendo. Let's have a look, shall we? Oh, it's here. Notes, statute of limitations expired 3 years ago on December 24th. And yeah, that is not red, it's orange. No detailed autopsy report due to the body going missing. And that's it. That's all his notes. And here's some evidence for you. Enjoy. There's quite a few, so I'd take a minute to scope them out if I were you. Small mountain of evidence from the IS-7 incident received from Fender. Yes, I see. I'll take a look at them in a bit. So we have... That's not a fucking small mountain. That's 4. 4 pieces of evidence is not a small mountain. Sorry, if you heard that. You know, our current case is just full of loose threads, too. Come to think of it. Indeed. The key players of that incident 18 years ago, who just happened to get caught up in another incident. The ice sculptures in the Winter Wing that are perfect replicas of the ones from 18 years ago. The poison gas attack in the Autumn Wing, which has been disguised to look like the Winter Wing. The 2 chemicals that were found inside the Pisces statue's display case, ubiquium and asphyxium, that form a poisonous gas when mixed together. The victim of the gas attack, Carmelo Gusto, who is no stranger to the events of 18 years ago, and who is still unconscious undergoing treatment in the medical room. And finally, we come to the body floating face down in the fountain. And the fact that the ice sculptures are melted, just as they did all those years ago. The events of the present day would seem to be intimately linked with the events of the past. Which means they may be able to help us learn more about what happened 18 years ago.
Sounds good to me. Let's get investigating.
Objection!
Hello, where did you come from? Oh no you don't! Aren't you forgetting somebody? I could have sworn this is my investigation. Eustace is quite right. I do hope you aren't intending to obstruct him in his duties, Mr. Edgeworth. I would hate to have to add a guilty to my report to the committee. What am I guilty of now? Of course not. I am simply offering once again to do what I can to help with this investigation. Your offer is duly noted and duly declined.
Oof. She isn't pulling any punches.
The identity of the body from the fountain is currently being ascertained. It is only a matter of time until we have all the information we need. Perhaps I can help you speed that process along. I think I have an idea of who our mystery victim might be.
What? Really? Then you have to tell me. It's the law.
Very well. Maybe it isn't just the ice sculptures that have resurfaced after 18 years. The body in the fountain may also be a visitor from the past. It's R.I.P. Frost. I believe the body in the fountain is that of the man who was murdered here 18 years ago. Mr. R.I.P. Frost.
What? You're saying that was poor Chillywinks? Wait, who the heck is Chillywinks or Artie or whoever it is you're talking about?
R.I.P. Frost was a famous sculptor, Eustace, although he was better named as Paul Halik. The sculptures on display here are all his works.
No way. Sounds like he did well for himself. Always good to encounter a fellow winner.
Mr. Frost was also the victim in the IS-7 incident.
Judge Cavell knows about the IS-7 incident?
Mr. Edgeworth, the IS-7 incident is an 18-year-old case. And according to police records, the victim's body was recovered and an autopsy duly carried out.
Sure, that's what the records say, but the records can't always be trusted.
What are you insinuating?
That while the records say stuff like, body totally recovered, the defense back then begged to differ. Now that it stopped the prosecution from shutting them down hard, of course.
Ring-de-ring.
Why does he answer his phone like that? Yeah, this is Winter. What? Really?
What is it, Eustace?
The body. We got an ID. Some sculptor called Frost or something? So I guess Edgeworth called it?
Good goddess of justice!
So my father's deductions were right all along. Well, Judge Cavell, I'd say this changes things, wouldn't you? Perhaps now you'll admit that I might be of use to this case. More than a certain junior prosecutor, anyway.
No fair! You're trying to steal the win!
I'm doing no such thing. All I want is to uncover the truth. And if we're going to get to the bottom of what happened here, we'll need to work together.
We do not need to do anything. And you do not need to know the truth. This case is none of your concern.
Objection!
Right, that's Fender's voice. Whoa there, Judge G. I think you might be wrong about that.
Another of your interruptions, Mr. Fender?
Yep. See, I was on the defense team for the IS-7 incident, so this case is very much my concern. I was one of the pesky kids pushing the theory that the body had actually gone missing. The prosecutor at the time may have brushed this off, but you can't deny the testimony of your eyes. Or to put it a little more bluntly, the prosecution's case was rotten from the ground up. When there's been a miscarriage of justice caused by the prosecution, it's the committee's job to fix it, no? And who better to help you unpick the mess than someone who was there at the time? Unless you have an ulterior motive. Judge Gavelle seems to know the facts of the IS-7 incident in some detail. In which case, I suspect she must be here on the committee's behalf. Your connection to the case is noted, Mr. Fender, but I fail to see how it concerns Mr. Edgeworth. He's the son of the original defense attorney, and the protege of the case's lead prosecutor. And if that's not enough for you, he was at the trial, too. I think it's just possible he might have a little something to bring to the table, don't you? Very well, you may both assist in the investigation. But only if you refrain from interfering with the work of others. The Winter Wing is off limits for now. This room, however, is all yours. Alrighty, great to hear we're on the same wavelength, G. Why don't we bring it in to show we're all on the side of justice? Do not test me, Mr. Fender. Your permission to investigate can be revoked at any time. Apologies for all the bumping of the table. It's a thing. My hands are moving about. Duly noted, Your Honor. This is a turn up for the books, huh, Milesy? We get to do our thing after all. Thank you for your immeasurable help, as always. No sweat. Besides, I was mostly doing it for me. So why is Kay still here? She doesn't have permission to investigate. Okay, I'll be investigating my own things, so just holler if you find just holler if you find something. I will. Well, okay, shall we? Heck yeah! Let the investigation commence. We're still unclear on two key facts. How Mr. Frost's body came to be where we found it, and the source of the ubiquium. You're right. We need to get some more intel. Indeed. Let's focus on the ubiquium first and foremost. It's used in stuff like dish soap and paint, right? Correct. It's also bright red in color and has a distinctive minty fragrance. Okay, sounds like we know what we're looking for. Begin investigation! Hello. The body's been taken back to the lab, sir. Autopsy's underway. And how's the rest of the fountain looking? Rather beautiful. Beautiful, actually, sir. The water's crystal clear and kind of soothing. Almost as if there wasn't a body floating in it not so long ago, Seems the police have already removed the body. But why did the body of a victim from 18 years ago turn up in this fountain? And why wasn't it all rotten and stuff? Did it slowly shuffle its way here? Need I remind you that zombies aren't real? It seems likely that the body was preserved somehow. Really? Is that even possible? Hey, Mr. Forensics guy, anything to report? Yes, ma'am. Traces of both ubiquium and asphyxia have been detected in the fountain. I'm gonna say they were probably carried here by the stream from the autumn wing. In addition to those two chemicals, there's also a large amount of sugar. The composition of the sugar is being analyzed as we speak. There's sugar in the fountain? Where would it even have come from? Oh gee, I wonder. Oh no! We dropped some frames, but I think we're okay. I think the stream, like, depending on how I feel at the 2-hour mark, we might only go for 2 hours today. I'm still kind of getting back into the swing of things. I still have things I need to do today, and I also don't want to completely demolish my voice. Then I'll have to think about what to do tomorrow, because I do still have to record the cover. So too much to think about right now. I'm not awake enough for this. Hello there, dearie. Still investigating away, are you? Found anything interesting? No, dearie. Well, nothing much anyway. Silly girl, that wasn't a dearie moment. That was more of a lambkin. Sweetheart is when you're being sympathetic, like of course, and treasure is when they're in a tiz. Love is for people you're not that keen on,
And pedal is what you use when you're trying to get someone's attention. Wow. I didn't realize there were so many rules. Mr. Edgeworth pedal. I hope you're getting all this down.
Don't even try it, Kay.
Oh, dearie me. Okay then. What is this?
From the color and aroma, I'd say this is a puddle of spilt tea.
And look, there's a small chunk of ceramic in it. pH.
I wonder.
I guess somebody must have broke something.
I know that insignia. And a certain high-strung somebody might just know a little something too. Miss Bound's tea set is laid out neatly on the serving cart.
The pamphlet says the gallery is famous for its tea.
The gallery just opened. How is it famous? It literally just opened today. Understandably so. The cup we were given was delicious.
Looks like all this stuff was designed by Mr. Frost.
Interesting. In that case, we'd better take a closer look.
I'm seeing a red label.
A caddy containing Ceylon tea leaves.
It's a well-crafted tin canister designed...
It's a well-crafted tin canister designed to prevent moisture and sunlight from damaging its contents. Not a bad thing to use, considering the quality of the blend Miss Bound serves.
What about this?
So this dishware was made by R.I.P. Frost.
It looks very fancy.
I feel like... I don't know, maybe it's because I've only ever used round cups, but I feel like a star-shaped mug like that would be awkward to drink out of. I'm willing to bet this set can fetch something in the thousands of dollars. So let's try not to touch anything unless we absolutely have to.
Whoa, this stuff's really worth that much?
Stop it, Kay. I can see your eyes lighting up.
Miss Bound must really be a fan of Mr. Frost, like Fender said to have this. Teapot. Hey, Edgy!
What is it?
You better be careful with that teapot, you hear?
Why is Larry so concerned all of a sudden?
Honored guests. I can pour you a cup if you like.
Miss Bound.
Judy. I'm good, thanks. No tea for me. You two can knock yourselves out.
Question mark? Thank you for the offer. Yes, why not? A quick break won't hurt.
2 cups coming right up. Did Kay have a... When we first came in here, did Kay have a tea drinking sprite? Why does everyone have tea drinking sprites? This smells great. Wow, it tastes even better than it smells. What type of tea is this, Mr. Edgeworth?
It's Ceylon, I believe. It's usually identifiable by its citrus aroma, but... Miss Bound, is this the same blend you served this morning?
Why, yes. Is it all right? There isn't anything wrong with it, is there?
Oh no, not at all. It's just that the cup you gave me earlier had a slightly different aroma.
The aroma's different from this morning. What changed? Really? That's odd. I used the exact same blend both times. I can't see what would account for the difference. Hey, what's the big idea? Quit being mean about Judy's tea, will you?
What's gotten under your skin, Larry?
Nothing. You're just rude, that's all. You didn't even try to call me by the right name. It's Laurie Stoneham. You know what? I'm done. I'm not talking to you anymore.
Well, that was childish even for him.
Wow. What happened there?
Let's ask him about it later, shall we? Talking to Miss Bound is more of a priority right now. We may not have any evidence to prove that she's the culprit, but it does seem likely that the poison gas was her doing. We've looked at that. We can look at the tablecloth, I guess. The tablecloth draped over the cart is pure white and completely spotless.
And it's just waiting for me to grab it by its edge. Clear my mind and whoosh!
Kay, I cannot stress enough how bad of an idea that would be.
Oh, come on! What's the worst that can happen? Even if it does go all sideways, we'll just wind up with a cool tea-colored tie-dye.
Yes, well, I'd rather it remained white. Plus, I don't think Miss Bound would appreciate us meddling with it.
Really? But there's so many other cool colors that would totally work. Pink, sky blue, tea leaves brown. Okie dokie.
Yeah, my throat does not like all of this. Alright, I guess we're talking to Miss Bound, because Larry's gone. Where were you before you rejoined us here, Miss Bound?
I had to go and tell our visitors that we're closed. Oh, and hand out a little something in apology. Was there something you needed to talk to me about?
Yes, a few things actually. Not least of all, the fact that I think you might be the one who set the poison gas trap.
Poison gas incident.
The original ice sculptures melted 18 years ago, correct? How did you manage to recreate them?
Oh, you know about what happened back then. In that case, you might also know I took pictures of them during the contest. I commissioned the creation of a set of replicas based on those photographs for this current exhibit.
But why go through the trouble of creating replicas?
Mr. Frost's Zodiac series was his great unfinished masterwork. I wanted to see it completed at last. Or rather, re-completed. It was my fault that the original set melted in the first place, after all.
I see. Is there any reason why the winter and autumn wings look so similar?
Oh my, you really think they look alike? Perhaps I used some of the decorations from one and the other by accident?
She's clearly lying. But I don't have the evidence to prove it just yet. We don't have anything else. Hey, what do you think about this?
The hunt is on.
The truth will come out.
But I don't know what that's about.
Ping. I guess we're going to find out.
I have inadvertently stumbled onto the set of Cake Crimes. Have I inadvertently stumbled onto the set of Cake Crimes the musical or something? Okay, so we're not doing that then. God damn it. Shut up. Shut up.
Is there nothing to present?
Delisha gave me a few of these cloths. They line up when you attach them to a special device.
How many did she give you exactly?
4, I believe.
There were 4 luminous cloths in the autumn wing, but I'm sure I saw another one somewhere else. Get the feeling Miss Bound is hiding something. Dang it. Ba-da-ba-dum, ba-da-ba-dum. Okay. We'll leave that for now, I guess. What about the this? Why is there a lift cart just sitting out here out in the open?
I guess somebody must have been moving something heavy.
The top of the platform seems to be wet. You know, I've got a funny feeling I've seen this thing somewhere before.
You mean like 18 years ago?
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. I last saw it in Frost's room. You must have used it to move the ice sculptures around. It's one of those fancy numbers where you can change not only the platform's height, but even its angle. If you have one of these, you can move giant lumps of ice around no sweat.
Lift cart.
Ooh, just think of the possibilities. I could really use one of these.
For what?
Still doesn't explain what it's doing here, though. Bit of a head scratcher, but we should give it a think, yeah? Indeed. After all, it might just have something to do with our case.
Hi, Fender.
Hey there, Malzarino. What's the situation with the investigation? Things are progressing. I think a fuller picture of what happened is beginning to emerge.
Good to hear. Guess I better step up my game too then.
The two incidents. This case seems to have a lot in common with the incident from 18 years ago.
And how? It's got the lot. Melting statues in the winter wing, and even the murder victim's body.
But how did nobody ever figure out that the body had gone missing?
Frost had no family apart from his son. And well, the kid kind of vanished. No one's seen him around since nobody's seen him since around the time of the incident. Gusto's son too. Him and his best pal from school just up and disappeared.
What? And they were never found?
Gusto's boy wasn't, not as far as I heard anyhow. Guess Frost's kid turned up in the end though. Collected his inheritance at some point. But yeah, no family around after the incident. Frost got no funeral, no nothing.
Sorry, I kicked the box again.
So no need for the police to release the body, and no need for anybody to find out they didn't have it. They filed their fake autopsy report and nobody was any the wiser. Well, almost nobody.
Still can't believe Mr. Von Karma would have stooped so low. I can. Do I have anything I would want to show him? I don't think so. Where's Larry? There he is.
I'm going to keep this simple, Larry. You're hiding something, so just tell me what it is.
Whoa, quit it with the glare off, you two. It's weird.
Oh, come on, Kay. You know me better than that. I wasn't staring. I was struck by an idea for a picture. Now, Edgy, he was glaring.
Yes, and I'll keep glaring at you until you tell us what it is you're hiding.
Quit it. I already told you I'm not talking to you anymore.
You're talking to me right now.
I mean, from now on, I'm not talking to you ever again, starting now. This is getting me nowhere. I suppose I'll have to figure out what he's hiding first before I can get the whole truth out of him. Does it have something to do with this?
Would you mind taking a look at this for me, Larry?
Why would you show me that?
Tell me, what is it about Miss Bound's tea set that's got you so agitated?
No.
If you won't tell me, then perhaps you'd prefer to explain it to Judge Gavel?
Wait, don't make me look bad in front of Fairy. She thinks I'm a sensible, cool, clean-cut guy. No, she doesn't. I don't want her to see the real me. The real low-down, dirty me.
I'm not so sure anybody here thinks you're particularly clean-cut, Larry. But if you don't want her to think badly of you, the best thing you can do is talk to me.
Alright, I'll talk.
What are you hiding? Alright, Larry, enough is enough. Now confess.
No. Is this any way to treat your best friend, Edgy?
Is that any way for you to treat yours? By lying to him? Hiding things?
I get the picture already. Stop glaring at me like that. I'll tell you everything, okay? Earlier, I thought Verity might like a cup of tea, so I went to pour one for her. But I got distracted and my head slipped and smash! I broke the teapot. A priceless work of art. It's in pieces because of me. No words exist to describe how far away I saw this coming from.
Ouch. You really messed up this time, Larice.
See, Edgy, everyone's gonna think less of me now. She Judy's never gonna forgive me for this.
Crying to me won't do you any good. I think you would need to apologize to Miss Bound.
My teapot. I see.
I'm sorry, Judy. I'm so sorry. I don't have any money, but I'll paint your portrait. I'll paint you 50 portraits.
Please, Mr. Donim. It's really me who should be apologizing. How could I have failed to notice that there were broken pieces of ceramics on the floor? Somebody could have been hurt. Here, let me make sure that's safely disposed of.
The teapot in question was designed by R.I.P. Frost, correct? I understand it was something you've long treasured. You must be upset.
Oh, I am. But of course, all things break eventually. And as luck would have it, I have another identical teapot. It's far from the end of the world.
Is she less attached to Mr. Frost's work than she used to be?
I can't believe this, Judy. You're the sweetest, the kindest. This other teapot you're talking about. It's the one sitting on top of the card right now, alright?
What do you mean?
Yeah, so when I smashed the first one, I tried to hide the pieces of the broken in the bottom of the card. That's when I saw the other pot under there, so I took it out and basically switched the two pots.
Larry's voice is probably so annoying for everyone watching, but oh well. He gives me Shaggy vibes, so he gets the Shaggy voice.
Oh, I see.
Yep, and that's everything I have to tell you. I'll be extra careful not to break the other one, I promise.
You have no shame whatsoever, do you?
I'm sorry.
It's really quite alright. Thank you for being so honest.
See, Angie, isn't Judy the absolute best?
I trust you won't take advantage of her kindness and will make amends somehow.
I sure will. Once I make it as an artist, I'm going to give her one of my paintings. She was one of my models after all. It's only...
Hey. Guess whose OBS crashed? Or froze, or whatever. Everything just locked up. I could still hear the sound. The bars were still moving. But everything else was broken. The source, the Elgato source, not working. Trying to stop the stream, not working. Trying to close OBS, not working. So I had to like force close it and then start it up again. That's great. Hasn't done that for a while. Maybe that's because I fucking updated stream elements right before starting stream. That was probably a bad idea. You're not supposed to update right before going live. Oops. Oh, let me just refresh this so things are moving again. Cool. Anyway, at this rate, I suspect he's likely to make more trouble than amends. Don't you think it would be better for you to keep... Hold on, let me scroll down so I can see that, yeah, my mic is in fact working. Don't you think it would be better for you to keep out of her way for a very long while?
Oh, but I will be keeping out of her way, because I sketched her and the others already.
Her and the others?
Keen to see my work, huh? Yeah, I drew a few great sketches of some ravishing beauties. Want to see?
Interested in Larissa's ravishing beauties, huh, Mr. Edgeworth?
I'm afraid you've greatly misjudged, Kay. I simply wish to see if Larry has captured any unusual details this time, too.
Unusual details? Nothing's unusual about these. They're my best work yet.
Really? Now I want to see them, too.
Aw, you're a sweetheart, Kay. Alright, let me take them out for you. Give me a sec, okay?
I suppose we might as well take a look. Your sketches. So these sketches of yours.
Seriously, Edgy, if you wanted to check out my art, you should have just said so from the get-go. Here, feast your eyes on this.
Thank you, Stream Elements.
What am I looking at here? Oh, that was supposed to be Edgeworth, I'm dumb. I told you already, ravishing beauties! Just a few of the fair faces that have caught my eye since I've been here, you know. There's Verity, and Judy, and someone else.
Why did you draw them all on the same page?
Well, I meant to draw the room first. Just something to pass the time. And then I saw one beauty and another, and well, I just scribbled them all down as I went.
So these were all drawn at different times.
Huh? Yeah, I guess. I did one of you too, Cage. You're on a different page. Cage? I did one of you too, Kay. You're on a different page, though.
Wow, you did? I'm flattered.
How true to life are these sketches? Did you only draw what you actually saw?
Of course. You think I draw things I can't see? Like using my imagination? Nope. These are 100% true to life. Right down to the exact shade of each color. So the colors are accurate. Interesting.
Much that pains me to admit it, Larry may have provided me with a useful piece of evidence yet again. The serving card in the sketch, for example, if I compare it with the one here in the room. There's a clear contradiction between the two. I think a little deduction is in order. Could I borrow this page for a while, Larry?
Sure thing. You want me to sign it for you?
Just the page, please. What is Delisha doing in that art?
To the serving cart. Deduce. Because this is white. And this is blue.
Larry, could I ask you something about your sketches?
Fascinated by the work of the great Maurice Donim, huh? It's the composition, right?
Not exactly. This light blue tablecloth. You painted that exactly as you saw it, correct?
I already told you. Everything is as I saw it.
But the tablecloth on the cart here in this room is white.
Wow. Your head's so full of crazy theories, the simple stuff passes you right by, huh?
What's that look for?
Listen, just before I drew that sketch, I was in the middle of some business with the card of tea. With the card with the tea set on it, okay? What kind of business? That's right. It was the hiding the pieces of the teapot I smashed kind.
That's nothing to boast about.
Anyway, I was still in the middle of cleaning it all up when Judy came out of the winter wing. I didn't want to get busted for breaking the pot, so I quickly dove out of sight.
And it's the only thing in color. Wait, Miss Bound came out of the winter wing.
Yeah, and she was pushing a cart, a different one. That's the one with the light blue tablecloth on it that I drew.
And what did she do with this second serving cart?
Well, I saw her wheel it into the summer wing, but I don't know what happened to it after that. When she came back out, she was pushing one of those other carts, the kind you can lift stuff with.
A lift cart?
Yeah, so I called out to her, but she just ran off and left it behind. Never had her down as the shy type, but it just goes to show, you never know.
Another serving cart and a lift cart.
Is there maybe another tea set too?
We'd better check with Miss Bound.
Okie dokie. Miss Bound.
Are there two serving carts here at the gallery, Miss Bound?
Oh, yes. Why do you ask?
A certain so-called artist showed us this sketch. I couldn't help but notice the color of the tablecloth. It's light blue.
Light blue? I'm afraid your friend must be mistaken. I only use white tablecloths, freshly laundered and starched. Like the perfect wrinkle-free one on the cart here in the fountain room, right? Exactly. If I saw so much as a blemish, I would replace it right away. Could the color of the tablecloth in the sketch simply be a mistake on Larry's part?
Do you have any idea of what you might have been doing when this sketch was drawn?
Let me see. I appear to be carrying out my usual duties.
I'd like to ask you a little more about these duties, if I may.
Your work.
What exactly were you doing when this sketch was drawn? Because from what I can see, your cart doesn't appear to have a tea set on it.
I was delivering some chocolates to the investigating officers.
Aw, now I'm jealous. I love chocolate.
Well, there are a few left over, so here, for you both. I made them myself. I hope you like them.
Woohoo! Hee. Thanks, Miss Bound.
Well, why not? They're a little melted, but I suppose that's because they've been sitting around in her pocket.
Slightly melted after being kept in her pocket. They're super sweet. I love them.
I'm very glad to hear it.
It may not be the prettiest, but I'm grateful for the energy boost nonetheless. Though perhaps they could do with a little less sugar?
Is that everything? Hey, what about the lift cart?
This lift cart. I hear it was in use 18 years ago, too.
That's right. It was in another room earlier until I brought it here. It's very useful for moving large, heavy objects around.
But why is it wet? Was it used to carry something wet? I don't know what to do now. Do I speak to, like, all the officers and whatnot?
Mr. Winner was very clear that you're only allowed to investigate this room. So I'm afraid I can't let you pass. Sorry, sir. It wouldn't make much of a difference if you did, officer. You're standing in front of a wall. Oh, but we all know a few bricks wouldn't stop you, Mr. Miles Edgeworth, sir.
Wow, he actually sounds kind of scared of you. Just what kind of reputation do I have down at the precinct? Also, where is Gumshoe? Now that I think about it. What's he doing?
Do you mind, Mr. Winner? You're in my way.
I do mind, actually, and I'm not going anywhere. You'll just have to go around me. Well, we thought you might want to move to a better spot, that's all. What better spot? I demand you show it to me at once. Is that really all it takes to make you do whatever we want?
Don't think you've gotten away with anything, Mr. Edgeworth. I'll be reporting your actions to the committee.
Do whatever you need to do, Judge Cavell.
And we'll do the same.
You are the self-styled great thief, correct? Mr. Edgeworth's association with such a character will be of interest to the committee too, of course.
Go ahead and report me to your stupid committee. I'll be the toast of the thieving community. It looks like Judge Cavell will have to think up some new threats if she wants to intimidate Kay. And I just remembered what we haven't done yet. We haven't looked at our logic. Because switch teapots and the tea smells different. That's why it smells different, because it's a different pot.
I suspect the difference in the aroma we notice is due to the teapots having been switched.
You do?
I can't see what else it could have been. The tea itself hadn't changed. Why don't we ask Miss Bound, just to be sure? Miss Bound, the difference in aroma we noticed, do you think it could have been because of the different teapot?
I suppose so.
My cup just now had a subtle minty scent, rather like uva tea.
Or, you know, mint tea. That's a thing, isn't it? Is mint tea not a thing? What the fuck is uva?
Oh, I just remembered. I made some there we go. Peppermint tea in that pot only yesterday. That must be where the minty aroma is coming from.
The tea has a refreshing aroma because it's in a different teapot from this morning. They deliberately avoided using the word minty on there. Could that really be it? Because you know what else has a minty fragrance? Ubiquium.
The tea from the teapot Larry switched in from under the cart smelled faintly minty.
Right, Miss Bound said she used that pot to make peppermint tea yesterday.
Yes, but there's something else that's been troubling me. Miss Bound seemed more taken aback by the switching of the teapots than the breaking of one.
You're right. You'd expect it to be the other way around.
I suspect she might have been deliberately hiding Teapot underneath the cart.
But why?
One of Ubiquium's key characteristics is its minty fragrance. So what if she had been hiding some in that teapot?
What? In the teapot?
It's simply a possibility, but one worth investigating, I believe. Mr. Winner, any luck finding that Ubiquium?
Huh? My people are searching the entire gallery, but they haven't found anything yet. And what about you? Don't tell me you know where it came from.
I may have an idea.
Ha! I knew it. If I can't find it, there's no chance of useless... What? You do know where it came from?
Yes.
Where?
Miss Bound's teapot.
Wow, nice piece. I like it. Yeah, this looks like a fitting prize for a natural-born winner.
It's not a prize, it's a vital piece of evidence.
Oh, it's just evidence? Then I'll have one of the forensics people check it out.
Mr. Edgeworth? Is there some sort of problem with my teapot?
Possibly.
The minty fragrance we noticed coming from it. I think it just might be the scent of one of the chemicals used to make the poison gas.
But Mr. Edgeworth, surely you don't think I had anything to do with that?
I'm afraid I do. The method used to create the gas would have required considerable preparation. Nobody would have had the time or the opportunity to set that up except you.
That's not strictly true. It took around a week to get Zodiac Hall ready for the exhibition. There were all kinds of people coming and going through here during that time. Delisha, for one. So you see, I'm not the only person who could have set it all up.
But Scone is on our radar, too, of course. You needn't worry about that.
And besides, I wouldn't know the first thing about making poison gas. So even if you did find some ubiquium in my teapot, I wouldn't have had any idea what to do with it. But I suppose we should see what the test results say first.
Miss Pound claims she doesn't know the first thing about making poison gas. I need to find a way to prove that she's lying. Oh, phone. Edgeworth speaking. Oh great, gumshoe.
Sir, it's me.
Is everything alright, Detective?
Everybody's left the Winter Wing. It's just me in here now. Which means I can tell you what will be found out.
He really shouldn't be sharing information about the investigation. But after the past week or so, I'm not about to stop him now.
The exhibits in here have all completely melted. And all that's left in the display case is some stuff at the bottom. More of it in the Taurus case than the Gemini case, though.
Describe this stuff for me if you can.
Yes, sir. It's like a pale blue liquid.
Blue text. Think about blue stop signs.
I had the lab run some tests just now. The sample from the Taurus case just had a bunch of sugar in it. But the one from the Gemini case had 3 different substances in it.
Which were?
Sugar, salt, and blood.
In 3 different colors. Blood. What is salt and blood doing in the Gemini case sample?
Can't imagine whose blood could possibly be, but I'll get it tested right away, sir.
Please do, Detective.
Oh, I also spoke over the radio with the forensics guy working the fountain room. He said he just got word that the sugar they found from the fountain matches the sugar in the pale blue liquid.
I see. That might well prove to be a significant development.
Gemini case analysis results.
Anything else to report, Detective?
Yes, sir. We found one of those light-emitting devices here in the Winter Wing, too.
There were a few of those being used in the Autumn Wing to disguise it as the Winter Wing, as I recall. It seems that the equipment from 18 years ago is more than just for show. I need to talk to Miss Scone about this.
Anyhow, I better be getting back to it. I'll let you know as soon as we hear from the lab about the blood.
Yes, thank you, Detective.
Was that Gummy? Seemed like he had a lot to say.
He did, and all of it very useful. If I'm going to prove that Miss Bound's claims about who could have set up the poison gas trap are false, I'll need to talk to a certain somebody else who was here 18 years ago. The certain somebody else that we literally just mentioned. Miss Scone, I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may.
Of course, dear. Fire away. Anything for you, Milesy Smilesy. And dear sweet little Tooth Decay. Tooth Decay? Tooth Decay. Tooth Decay.
I'd appreciate if that was the last time you called me Milesy Smilesy.
I'm not a fan of Tooth Decay either. Well, you just have to like it or lump it. I can't change a nickname once I've settled on it. Ugh. Well, I guess we tried. Gallery decorations.
What can you tell us about the various devices used to decorate the gallery's exhibits? There seem to be some pretty specialized items in use. Light-emitting devices, luminous fabrics.
Oh, I can tell you all about those, dearie. After all, I'm the one who gave them to Moody Judy. It's my way of saying sorry after I broke the rules all those years ago. I bought her 4 lovely new salt lamps and gave her 4 pieces of luminous cloth I used. I gave her the 4 pieces of luminous cloth I used for the contest. Wow, that's super generous of you. Well, us girls have to do our best, don't we? Not everybody understands, of course.
That better not be a dig at me, better not be a dig at me, Delish. I told you how kind I thought it was.
Yes, back when you were a dear, sweet, innocent baby boy. What happened to you, eh? A dear, sweet, innocent baby boy? Mr. Fender? I can't quite picture that, I have to say.
So these decorations, they're all the same as the ones you saw 18 years ago, correct? Yep, salt lamps, glowing fabric, light-emitting doodads, the whole bit. There were 4 luminous cloths in use in the autumn wing, but I'm sure I saw another one somewhere.
I'm not lying. Oh, it's in my bag somewhere, I'm sure of it.
What is she looking for?
That's not it. And that's not it.
That cloth looks familiar. Maybe I should jog our memory with something so Miss Scone will tell us more. Okie doke. How about this? You had a piece of fabric like this in your bag, did you not, Miss Scone? Albeit a somewhat grimier one.
Grimy? How rude. You don't get people to cooperate with your little investigation like that, young man.
Shall I call it a dish towel, then? Perhaps you used it to wipe up some sort of spillage.
A spillage, he says. The cheek. That's a piece of highly specialized luminous cloth. Oh, I probably shouldn't have told you that.
I think I'd like to know a little more about this highly specialized luminous cloth, if you don't mind. Let's do that first, then. Why didn't you want me to know you had a piece of luminous cloth in your bag?
Oh, well, I suppose there's no point in hiding it now, is there? If you must know, I fished it out of the fountain. It was right before they called me into the autumn wing.
So Larry's sketch of Miss Scone is when she was trying to retrieve the cloth.
At first I thought it was one of the ones I'd given Moody Judy.
One of the 4 you'd given to the gallery, correct?
Exactly. But all 4 were being used in the autumn wing, weren't they? So I realized... it must be the one that went missing all those years ago. I'd already had my infesticide ultra pinched and used to make poison gas. If one of my cloths turned out to have been used in some sort of dastardly deed too, well... I was going to look guilty as sin, wasn't I? So I kept it hidden in my bag and hoped for the best.
I see.
Oh, it does feel good to get it off my chest, though. Stress is no good for the complexion.
So the cloth that disappeared 18 years ago, the one that the victim was wrapped in, just happens to appear in the fountain at the same time as the body. Sorry. And now let's learn about making poisonous gas. Miss Scone, you're something of a specialist. How might one learn to make the poison gas that was used in the attack, Any ideas?
Well, any pharmacist who's ever handled Infesticide Ultra would know for a start. After all, this is right there on the label. Do not mix with products containing ubiquium, ever.
What about the layperson? It's unlikely they'd know, wouldn't you say?
I suppose so, yes. Well, not unless they'd had a nose through the Ultimate Cookbook, anyway. The prize from the contest 18 years ago. The recipe for making Infesticide Ultra, along with that not mixing with ubiquium bit, is in there, you know.
Well now. So you're familiar with the contents of the book?
Oh yes, dear, I know it inside and out. Because I work for the Tangaroa Group, you see. We're the company behind Cold Killer X.
Now there's a reference.
I'm sure you've heard of it.
If anyone was ever wondering the backstory of the fucking cold medicine that Phoenix uses in the third game, you've got it. Here's the backstory. Hi, Chad. Welcome.
We're the company behind Cold Killer X. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Cold Killer X fights back sniffles and sneezes with ease, apparently.
After Sammy Pooper was found guilty, the company took custody of the book.
What a fact to drop in on, yeah. I feel like I've mentioned this before. I do feel like the investigations games really love calling back to the original series, but also the original series is so self-referential as well. It's really just like once they hit like the Apollo trilogy that they started to be a bit more self-contained, I guess. But even then, apparently the fucking Legal Academy from Dual Destinies, it's the same academy that fucking Eustace went to, apparently. But they only drop that fact in like an art book. They don't actually bring it up in the game from what I remember. Anyway. The company took custody of the book.
But they only grant their most trusted people access to it, of course.
Which means Miss Scone is one of these elites, I suppose. Okay. What now? Do we have enough logic to do something? We do not. Okay. Do we talk to you? No, we've already done this. Do we talk to you? No. Only assume from the uniform. Good to have confirmation. Yeah. Apparently this, like the blue uniform, is like the uniform they used like during this time, and then during like time skip to the Apollo era, they use the black uniform that's seen in Dual Destinies instead. And they have like a comparison of the uniforms in the art book. Anyway, what the fuck do I do now? I've spoken to everyone. What do I do? Oh, there's more to do with Fender. Oh, hello. When did this pop up? Tell me, Fender, what kind of person is Miss Bound? Huh? Wait a minute. Don't tell me you've got a thing for her, Milester. I do not. Jill, Jill, I'm just yanking your chain. Anyway, what can I say about Judes? Well, she's a real brave trooper for one. What else do you call someone who waits around for 18 whole years like she has for Samson? Even after his extended family kicked her out of his place.
What? They threw her out?
Yep. Judes wasn't technically part of the family, so there was nothing she could do. She had nothing, nobody, and no job after Samson took the fall. So she had no choice but to take what he'd taught her and make her own way in showbiz. She's retired from all that now, though. Yes, why did she retire? She'd finally made enough to buy the old place back. She even got the Ultimate Cookbook back from the Tangaroa Group after they basically stole it. Well now.
I wonder how that's relevant. I guess this place and everything to do with it was all she ever cared about. She just wanted it back. All of it. Fender seems very sympathetic to Miss Bound's plight. But from a less charitable perspective, she has, in a way, taken everything from Mr. Tangaroa's... everything of Mr. Tangaroa's for herself. Anyway, logic time. Bound recovered the house and the ultimate cookbook for Tangaroa's sake. The ultimate cookbook contains instructions for creating poison gas. I wonder how that might be relevant. The ultimate cookbook contained instructions on how to create the poison gas. And the current owner of that book is none other than Miss Judy Bound.
No way! You mean...
I'm afraid I do. Miss Bound would have been perfectly capable of setting up the gas trap. Finally, we can prove she's been lying to us.
Investigation complete!
I'm trying to logic why it has a poison gas recipe. The ultimate cookbook. It's not actually about cooking recipes. It's about what's it called? Hold on. Does it say it? Yeah, it's a book containing formulas for creating a cure to taste disorders and other chemical and pharmaceutical items. So they call it the Ultimate Cookbook. It's actually the Angel's Cookbook. It says it on the front of the cover, but they couldn't call it the Angel's Cookbook for some reason. So Samson is actually the heir to a large pharmaceutical group. And that's why it has that in it. Also, the cover literally says Angel's Cookbook. And why are they calling it the Ultimate Cookbook? I think in the fan translation they called it the Angel's Recipe. Why are they... I'm confused. And that's that. All that's left now is to await the results of the tests on the teapot. To be continued. Now I have a decision to make. I feel like Angel is too religious, but bro also changed the cover, right? If they're gonna bother renaming it, change the sprite. You can do that. That's a thing you can do. I have a decision to make. Do I want to keep going? I don't know. We're done with most of the difficult voices. But also, OBS did crash like half an hour ago. I think let's keep going for now. We'll see how my voice holds up. I'm not going to be able to get much singing done today anyway. I've got other things I need to do. Maybe tomorrow we'll do a shorter stream. That explains the 30-minute uptime. Yeah, I had to update my stream. When I loaded up OBS, it popped up with like, hey, update stream elements. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. It fucking broke everything. Thanks for the hydrate, Redeem. So I'll have to stitch the VOD back together. Zodiac Hall, 2:33 p.m.
The test results have just come in, sir. Traces of ubiquium were found in the teapot.
They were? Just like Mr. Edgeworth said. Curse you! You better not think this means you beat me.
You really need to drop this obsession with coming in first, Mr. Winner. We're all on the same side here, remember? We're all trying to get to the truth.
What? But first is best! Everyone knows it's better to be a winner than a loser.
That's really no way for a prosecutor to think. Not a successful one, anyway.
What? But I...
Enough. Mr. Edgeworth, please refrain from taunting the boy. Ignore him, Eustace. He isn't worthy of your attention.
But Gavel...
No, alright.
Why don't I take care of things here for now? In the meantime, you can perform the far more important task of going and checking on the victim.
Oh, yeah, good idea. I'll be right back.
Excellent. We shall see you shortly then.
Mr. Wynn is annoying, but totally harmless. Judge Cavell, on the other hand.
Now, Miss Bound, perhaps you could explain why traces of ubiquium were found in your teapot. I had no idea there was anything like that in there. Perhaps it's one of the ingredients in the dishwashing soap I use? So you are telling the court that you did not intentionally put ubiquium in the teapot? Yes, exactly. Why would I? Until today, I had no idea that it could even be used to make poison gas.
You're a trained actress, are you not, Miss Bound? I'd have thought you would be more I'd have thought you would be a more convincing liar.
What do you mean?
You have access to the Ultimate Cookbook, correct? A book that just happens to contain the instructions on how to create the poison gas used in the attack. Meaning it's perfectly possible for you to know exactly how to make it.
You're very well informed, Mr. Edgeworth. Miss Bound, is what Mr. Edgeworth said true? The book does contain information on how to make the poison gas, yes? But the fact that I have seen it doesn't make me guilty. Can I ask how exactly the gas was triggered?
The victim used a I've made their voices too similar, but it's too late for me to change it now.
The victim used a blowtorch to heat the lid of one of the display cases, thereby melting the ubiquium. I see. But he locked himself in the room too, didn't he? Surely the fact that he triggered it himself, wouldn't it point to it being a suicide attempt?
So she's not willing to admit to anything.
Furthermore, where would I have gotten a hold of the Infesticide Ultra?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps you stole it?
You know, I did bump into Moody Judy a week or so ago. And that very evening, I noticed my Infesticide Ultra had gone missing. Judy, surely you didn't. Delisha, you carry your bag of pharmaceuticals with you everywhere, don't you? There would have been any number of opportunities for someone other than myself to steal it from you.
That's true, and I don't have any hard evidence that it definitely was Miss Bound who stole it. Judes, there's clearly something you're not telling us. So why don't you just come clean, We all know you'd never hurt somebody for no reason, so...
Not you too. You think I'm guilty as well, Mr. Fender?
And you blame me? You got one wing disguised as another, a gas trap in one of the display cases, and you're the proprietor of the establishment. It's looking a lot like you did it, kiddo. How old is... She is 2 years younger than you. You do not have any right to call her kiddo.
You've got this all wrong. You have to remember, the gallery doesn't have any security cameras, nor any security personnel.
That is... Insurance companies hate her.
If some ill-intentioned person or other wanted to get in undetected, I don't think they'd have much of a problem.
Honey, you are running an art gallery with priceless works of art. What the fuck are you doing? You're only 8, and you're 10.
Wow, you're practically asking to be burglarized.
So true.
You need to be more careful. A great thief can have a field day in here.
And I don't think she's joking.
And actually, it seems that Mr. Gusto did in fact enter the gallery before it opened.
Sheesh! Judy's one tough cookie. She's not budging an inch. Maybe it's time to rock a little technique Gregory taught me back in the day. And what technique might that be? So hear me out. Everything's connected to what happened 18 years back, yeah? And since we're not getting anywhere by focusing on only the here and now, maybe we ought to approach this from a different angle, look at the past for clues instead. Turnabout in thinking. So my father used this method as well. Yeah, evidently, this is just how lawyers do. They turn their thinking around. Mia did it, Phoenix does it, Gregory did it. Alright, let's run this through the old Thingatron. How was Jude's involved in what happened back then? According to Miss Bound, it was because of her that Mr. Frost's flavored ice sculptures melted. And yet, his sculptures are here on display at this very gallery today. Is it possible that she... Thank you, Fender. I think I know what I need to ask Miss Bound now. Don't thank me. Thank your pops. Now take it away, Milesy. I'll grab the popcorn. Miss Bound, you say that you were the one who caused Mr. Frost's creation to melt 18 years ago, correct?
I'm afraid so. I was young and foolish, and it was a terrible accident.
And yet, what you did allowed you to open this exhibit, no?
What do you mean? Yes, what do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? If you are going to ask such questions, perhaps a formal testimony from Miss Bound might be best?
Yes, perhaps it might. I'd like to know a little more about Zodiac Hall. And about why Miss Bound decided to dedicate this space to Mr. Frost's works.
Very well. If you believe it to be relevant to the case, I will allow it. Miss Bound, would you mind? Not at all. I'll do whatever it takes to prove that I'm innocent.
Then please, if you could give us some background on Zodiac Hall and the pieces on display here. Her extendo gavel is still so fucking extra. Zodiac Hall.
It took 18 years, but at long last, I was finally able to buy Samson's home back a little while ago. But a place like this is expensive to maintain, so I decided to turn it into an art gallery. To that end, I collected as many Paul Halik pieces as I could from around the world. Because, if I'm honest, it's always been something of a dream of mine to open a space dedicated to his work. Thank you for your testimony, Miss Bound. How wonderful it is that you are able to fulfill your dream. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, everything seems entirely above board to me.
Judge Gavelle, that was simply the witness's preliminary statement. As you surely know, the value of that testimony cannot be evaluated without due cross-examination. I want to complain about something. Edgeworth's like, yeah, you can't assess the value of that until after we've actually gone through it. We had like quarterly planning and shit for work recently, and we were asked to do a retro not on the previous quarter's work, not on the previous sprint's work, but on how we did during planning. And I just looked at the board, I'm like, what the fuck do you mean we're supposed to evaluate how we did during planning? Like, how do we know how good our planning was until we've put the plan into action? It's fucking stupid. Ultimately, like, one person put down a bunch of things to be like, yeah, this is what we did good. This is what it... It's just like, I think it was something along the topic the person presenting chose for us was that we, like, how we handled our dependencies on other teams. And I'm just like, okay, well, we made a bunch of dependency tickets. Like, I wouldn't say it went well because it hasn't gone anywhere yet. We haven't done the work. It's fucking stupid. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, am I the dumb one for not getting this? This feels entirely pointless. And I'm just like, this is why I don't want to, like, move up in the company. This is why I don't want to be a manager. All of this fucking... These little ceremonies all feel like stupid, pointless crap that's done for the sake of making the company happy. And I'm just like, I'd just rather be the person who gets told, hey, this is what we need to do, go do it. And then I go do it. Imagine a heist and they pat each other on the back before doing the heist. Yeah. Oh, it was so fucking dumb. Thankfully, I was working from home that day, so I could just pace around my room complaining about how fucking dumb it was. Anyway. Same. Also, all the raw tape, right? My manager's like, yeah, you need to be more ambitious. You're too young to be comfortable in your current position. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy with my responsibilities. I'm like, my paycheck's pretty good right now. I'm not eager to move up and like put more shit on my plate. Anyway, enough of that side tangent. I just wanted to complain about that because it was so fucking stupid.
Haha, spoken like a true attorney. Very well. You may do what you must.
Rebuttal. Zodiac Hole. I have no fucking clue what we're supposed to present, so I guess we'll just press on everything.
18 years. You must have gone through a lot to buy it back, Miss Bound. This home, this place. Such memories abound. I couldn't stand to lose what I had found.
Oh, she's supposed to be singing. I'm not doing that. I'm not reading it in singing. I'm not doing it. Stop dancing and testify. Stop it. Samson, I did what I had to do to see that home was waiting here for you.
How does she make it look so easy?
I'll say. But I wouldn't expect anything less from a trained triple threat performer.
If you could continue with your testimony, Miss Bound. Minus the singing, if you please.
The claps, yeah.
But a place like this is expensive to maintain, so I decided to turn it into an art gallery.
Hold it!
Without any security.
You managed the gallery by yourself, Miss Bound? Yes, well, we only opened today, so I haven't done any actual managing yet, but I have kept the mansion going. Can't have it falling down around my ears. Samson could come home any day after all.
So she really got the house back for him.
I'm sorry, Judy. I wish I could have done more.
Oh, you've done plenty, Mr. Fender. If anyone should have done more, it's me. Even if the only thing I can do right now is keep this place safe for Samson.
To that end, I collected as many Paul Halik pieces.
Hold it!
Paul Halik. That was Mr. Frost's pseudonym, correct?
Yes, he adopted it while he was working as a sculptor in France.
I see. I'm curious about some of the pieces in your collection. More specifically, how you were able to acquire the Taurus and Gemini sculptures. It was my understanding that Mr. Frost died before he could complete them.
Yes, I was able to create replicas from the Winter Wing based on photos of the sculptures he made.
Really? Perhaps you could go into some more detail on that?
Because if I'm on it... Okay.
Hold it!
These photos you mentioned, you mean the ones you yourself took in Mr. Frost's room 18 years ago?
Yes, you certainly know a lot about what happened back then, Mr. Edgeworth.
So those statues in the Winter Wing were just copies? I didn't even get to see them before they melted.
No, the sculptures in question were definitely not replicas. Which means that Miss Bound is lying.
I know, it's such an awful shame. And after we went to the trouble to recreate them too.
The sculptures in the Winter Wing weren't replicas. They're the very ones from 18 years ago. I need to show her I'm aware of that, or I'll never get to the truth.
Okay. Statues matching those made by the victim. I guess. Let me just check. There's nothing else. Yeah, nothing else related. I did not mean to present. Oh, okay, well I got it right anyway, I guess. I meant to look at what was actually on the report. Sugar composition matches that of the sugar found in the pale blue liquid and... oh. Well, there we go. Sugar composition matches that of the sugar found in the pale blue liquid in Artie Frost's room 18 years ago. Sugar detected in the fountain water also seems to be a match. I did not remember Gumshoe telling us that it was a match for the stuff from 18 years ago. I really should have read through the report. I thought it was just going to be a summary of what he said on the phone call. Oh well. That works.
I'm afraid you've run out of road, Miss Bound. You can lie all you like, but you can't deny the results of the test conducted on the sculpture's remains.
Got it anyway, GG easy.
And those tests leave no room for ambiguity. What you had on display weren't replicas. They were the very statues Mr. Frost carved 18 years ago.
Oh, I can probably help explain how they worked it out if you like, dear. It's the sugar, you see. You might think sugar is sugar, but the composition is actually very unique. You could probably recreate the statues, but the sweet secret of their chemical makeup? No chance.
Thank you, Miss Scone.
I don't recall asking for her help, but still.
To put it simply, the statues didn't disappear back then because they'd melted. They disappeared because you spirited them away and kept them hidden for these 18 long years.
What? She kept a pair of flavored ice sculptures around somewhere for all that time?
It's not the most out there idea in the world, assuming you had a big enough icebox. Quiet, all of you. Miss Bound, dear, have you anything to say in your defense?
So you've already learned that much. Should I take that to mean you admit to having hidden the flavored ice sculptures in question? No, I admit to no such thing. You haven't proven that I was the one who took those statues away. And you won't, because it would have been impossible for me to do so in the first place. The police were already here when they disappeared. How could I have done it without them noticing?
How indeed. I don't yet know exactly how you did it, but I'm far from ready to say that it was impossible for you to have stolen them away.
You're a very persistent man, aren't you, Mr. Edgeworth?
I am indeed. And I won't stop until I get to the truth.
I see. Then I'd best tell you exactly what I did that day 18 years ago.
Girl's got a better memory than me. I wouldn't be able to fucking remember 18 years ago. How old was I? Would have been 10. So I guess that's kind of a different case, but... Anyway. Although I guess this is a particularly significant moment. But, like, even for particularly significant moments, I do not remember back that far. My memory's dog shit.
The whole time before judging began, I was waiting upstairs in our living room area on standby. During the judging, I had to go change the camera's film cartridge for Samson. But before I could take the camera back to Samson, I discovered Mr. Frost's body. Later, around when your father arrived, I began to make the rounds and serve tea to everybody present. That was when I saw Mr. Gusto entering Mr. Frost's room. And those were my movements on the day it all happened.
Hold on, let me check if I've got... No, okay. So I don't have what I was thinking of.
I hardly see how you could take issue with any of that.
That's for us to decide, Miss Bound.
Are you saying there's a contradiction in her story, Mr. Edgeworth?
I'm more focused on proving the fact that she did indeed steal those statues.
The question is, when would she have the opportunity to do so? If I can pinpoint that, I might be able to prove what exactly she got up to. What I did that day? I'm gonna jump right to the statement I think is the problem. And just press it. Because why not? Save my voice a little.
Hold it!
This one. Just as you did today.
Yes, I went around and offered everyone working on the investigation a cup of tea.
Present company included. I remember it well. You were here, there, upstairs, downstairs, everywhere with that little cart of yours. Interesting. Did anything strike you as a stranger around that time? Oh yeah, Gregory was singing the praises of Judy's tea, and I think he mentioned his saucer was cold. His saucer was cold? Why? Was this the moment when Miss Bound stole the sculptures? His saucer was cold! Miss Bound, I believe this was when you stole the sculptures.
I hate to contradict you, but the fountain room was full of witnesses at that point, Mr. Fender included. Are you suggesting that I somehow got the sculptures out of Mr. Frost's room right under everyone's noses?
That is precisely what I'm suggesting. Because the saucer was cold. Miss Bound stole those ice sculptures. She did it by hiding them here. Under the cart. Well, on the cart. My father and Fender had no idea that one of the sculptures was mere inches away from them. Because it wasn't just a tea set you were pushing around, Miss Bound, but a hidden ice sculpture in a glass case.
Ah! Surely such a thing would have been impossible. How would a case of that size fit on a serving cart? It would have been spotted immediately.
Objection!
Who said anything about a serving cart?
I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Edgeworth. What are you suggesting she used instead?
I'm suggesting that Miss Bound used this to transport the sculptures. It's the lift cart! Damn, she gotta be either super strong or a really good actress. Who says she's not both?
And this is?
The cart that Miss Bound used to move the flavored ice sculptures out of Mr. Frost's room 18 years ago. And it would appear that the very same cart is still here with us in this fountain room.
We originally bought it for use here, for use in the contest. And you're saying that Miss Bound loaded Mr. Frost's sculptures onto this cart and carried them off?
I am. As you can imagine, all one would need to do is lay the cart on its side, at a tablecloth, and it'd look exactly like a normal serving cart, thus allowing her to move the sculptures around freely.
Can it be?
Holy moly! Of course! That's why those saucers were so chilly. They were sitting on top of a big block of ice. Judes, how could you?
Impressive. Then again, you are Mr. Gregory Edgeworth's son. I should have expected no less. There isn't a scrap of evidence that I stole the sculptures all those years ago. Oh, now. And yet, I knew that no matter what I said or did, I'd always be under a cloud of suspicion. So you admit it? You admit that you stole them from Mr. Frost's room? Yes, I do. I took those sculptures and their glass cases out of that room 18 years ago. As Mr. Edgeworth correctly deduced, I dressed up the lift cart as a serving cart to do it, and slipped in and out of Mr. Frost's room while I was going around serving tea to everybody. In the end, I'd removed not only the sculptures, but the flavored ice Zodiac blocks as well.
Zodiac blocks? I feel like I've seen them for myself before. There's a huge block of ice on display here. Must be incredibly heavy though. Maybe not. What with it being hollow on the inside. If the Winter Wing is an exact replica of Mr. Frost's room from 18 years ago, then even though my father never saw them because they'd already melted, the Zodiac blocks must have been in the victim's room back then as well.
When I had finally finished moving the 2 ice sculptures and the 2 zodiac blocks out, I took 2 fresh empty cases to Mr. Frost's room and put them where the original 2 had been. Only the sculptures had been kept in glass cases, you see, to prevent them from being damaged. The blocks were a little more robust, so they had been displayed as is. As stated in the contest rules, we were responsible for providing all display materials, including cases. Meaning it would have been easy for her to prepare those empty spares she swapped in. Mr. Frost's room contained quite a few other flavored ice works in progress. So I figured if I melted them down somehow, the resulting puddle would look like it came from the sculptures. And that is how the sculptures from 18 years ago came to be in the Winter Wing today. I have to say, Mr. Edgeworth, that's quite the confession.
Indeed. And I think she offered it so willingly because she knows there's nothing we can do with it.
That's all I have to tell you. However, despite everything I've shared, you can't charge me with anything now, can you?
What? How'd you figure that?
Oh my. I would have thought you might know at least this much, given we're at a crime scene. I suggest you memorize the various statutes of limitations outlined in this book.
This is kind of a callback to the DS version of the first game, because the original game had like evidence law for dummies or whatever. So now we have statute for dummies, and it has the same style of drawing on the front. Only I think that book was blue and this one's green. It's an adorable cover, right? Why isn't this guy the mascot of the police? Why do we have to deal with the badger? This guy's cuter.
I suggest you memorize the various statutes of limitations outlined in this book.
Statutes of what? A book explaining the statutes of limitations for various crimes. Simply put, Kay, prosecutors only have a certain amount of time within which they can put a suspect on trial for a given crime. Let's take a closer look, shall we? For theft, 7 years from the date of... Oh, okay.
So it's different for every crime? Murder, 15 years. Theft, 7 years. Ah!
Murder, 15 years was already well established. Theft, this is the first time we're hearing about it, I'm pretty sure. Theft, 7 years from the date of the crime. Separate time frames apply with regards to claims for damages, etc. For murder, 15 years from the date of the crime, the statute is suspended should the suspect flee to a foreign country, and the statute is suspended from the time of any accomplice's indictment to the end of their trial. Anyway, yeah, 15 years was established in the very first game because of the DL6. Yes, Miss Bounce stole the ice sculptures 18 years ago. So it's too late to have her arrested for that crime.
I don't believe it.
Theft is a serious matter, especially when it involves the removal of evidence from a crime scene. However, as you yourself just pointed out, Miss Bound can no longer be prosecuted for her crime. Rendering your revelation rather pointless, wouldn't you say, Mr. Edgeworth?
Objection!
I wouldn't be so sure about that. For you see, the theft of the ice sculptures isn't my principal interest here. I find the body that reappeared 18 years after the theft to be of considerably more interest.
Are you suggesting that I also hid Mr. Frost's body?
I am indeed.
But how do you keep a body hidden for 18 years without anybody finding it?
By hiding it in a very unusual way.
Ooh, now this is interesting.
You're telling me that you know where the body has been hiding, where the body has been all this time, Mr. Edgeworth?
It's not such a big leap if you think about what Miss Bound has told us already. Let's just say it wasn't just flavored ice that she removed from Mr. Frost's room back then.
Very well. If you are confident in this claim, Let us put it to the test. Tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, where exactly was Mr. Frost's body hidden?
It was in... Just making sure. It was in the ice sculpture.
A photograph of Mr. Frost's works?
And of the victim's body, Your Honor.
You will have to forgive me, but I don't see what you mean. Where exactly in this photograph is Mr. Frost's body?
The victim's body is hiding right here. It's in the Gemini case because we found out there was blood in the case.
The Gemini sculpture?
Yes. It may look like a sculpture at first glance, but it is in fact Mr. Frost's corpse.
What? Surely you can't be serious. I don't see anything in the photograph to support such a wild claim.
That's because a certain piece of evidence was used to hide the body in plain sight.
And what piece of evidence might that be? The court demands you present what was used to conceal the body.
It was the cloth.
One of the cloths from the Autumn Wing?
Yes, when it's made to glow in just the right way, it's so convincing you might mistake it for ice. Isn't that right, Miss Scone?
Well, yes, dear. But you can make it look just like just about anything, really. Even blazing fire. And the right shade of blue would make it look like ice, yes. Exactly like it, in fact.
Is it not the case that a certain special device is needed to generate these colors, though?
Huh. If you would care to take another look at the photo in the Winter Wing, Your Honor. You'll notice there is a small box connected to the bottom of the Gemini display case.
That's
one of the very light-emitting devices in question. Detective Gumshoe even confirmed its presence. In fact, this particular device went missing 18 years ago. Back then, it was no doubt firmly connected to the cloth inside the display case, which means Miss Bound had no choice but to take it with her when she removed the sculpture. So you see, this cloth and the light-emitting device were being used to create the illusion that Mr. Frost's body was in fact a statue carved from ice.
No, this can't be.
Wait, so you're telling me that when we took that photo of us in the Winter Wing? Yes, we were standing right in front of the body.
But the body and the cloth were both recovered from the fountain. Why were they found there if the body was supposed to be in the Winter Wing disguised as a sculpture?
Because there would have been no mystery as to how the body had been hidden if we found it as is. Miss Bound needed to remove Mr. Frost from the Winter Wing in order to throw us off the scent.
Ridiculous. I don't recall her sneaking around behind our backs to throw a body in the fountain.
No, and she didn't need to, because she had another method at her disposal. Her trusty lift cart. The same cart she had proved so useful to her executing words. Her trusty lift cart. The same cart that had proved so useful in executing her original theft.
What?
I believe she wheeled the body to one of the other wings and floated it down the stream to the fountain. The frozen body, being quite solid, probably got stuck somewhere along the way, which is why only the cloth appeared at first. The cloth Miss Scone discovered.
And then the body followed afterwards once it had thawed enough. It's an ingenious theory, Mr. Edgeworth. But can you prove it was me? It seems a little unfair to expect me to accept your accusations without proof, don't you think?
What about an eyewitness? You think someone might have spotted her when she was moving the body?
As a matter of fact, I do. And the contradiction in the piece of evidence I was provided will shed light on exactly how Miss Bound moved the body as well.
Well, Mr. Edgeworth, do you have any evidence to support your allegation?
Of course. I have a piece of evidence. I have a piece of very compelling proof right here.
Then please present it to the court. What evidence do you have that supports that proves Miss Bound acted as you claim?
It's Larry's sketch, because as you can see, it's a blue tablecloth, not a white one. Oh, and also she doesn't have the cloth around her waist that she normally has.
Take that!
I wonder why that is.
More drawings? And is that me?
Yes, Mr. Butt's true sketches of people as they pass through the fountain room. But what I'm interested in is the cart we can see here.
Miss Bound's serving cart? What about it?
Huh. You don't see it? She's using the same trick she used 18 years ago. Interesting that a drawing could be used as evidence. I mean, it's been done before. Ever since Larry learned how to draw, they're just like, well... Actually, in the very first case, in the very first game, rather, well, the DS version of the very first game, they had Emma draw a sketch of what she saw. So, like, a sketch based on an eyewitness account does sort of work. Flashbacks to Larry drawing the lady flying over the bridge. Yeah. Legit spooked me. I love that, like, of all the things that Larry's done, this is like the one thing that he's actually good at. He's actually an artist. And then, like, when they finally brought him back for, like, a DLC case, they're like, yeah, Larry actually managed to become a, like, successful picture book author. He finally found what he's good at. Anyway. I already read this line. And because Edgeworth is so far back on the screen, he's about to point. There we go. Ergo, we know that Miss Bound was busy moving Mr. Frost's body when this picture was being drawn.
What? If I may, I don't see Mr. Frost's body anywhere in that sketch. All I see is a picture of me delivering chocolates to everyone.
Really? Then allow me to direct your attention to the color of the tablecloth, Miss Bound. I'd originally thought that Mr. Butts made an error, but he's assured me that couldn't possibly be the case.
This tablecloth appears to be light blue.
Yes, a shade of tablecloth that Miss Bound doesn't seem to own. The cloth only appears to be light blue due to the body hiding just underneath.
What? But the shape of the card is perfectly rectangular, as one would expect. Surely it would be immediately obvious if the tablecloth was being draped directly over the body.
Not if the body had been placed inside one of the hollow zodiac blocks in the winter wing. Place one of those on the lift cart and it'd easily pass muster as a regular serving cart, wouldn't you agree?
Goddess of Justice!
Miss Bound, surely now you must admit that it was you who moved the body, just as you did 18 years ago?
I didn't expect you to deduce all that from a single simple sketch. But that sketch alone isn't really enough to prove your theory, is it?
Huh. You needn't worry on that front. My case doesn't rest solely on Mr. Butts' artwork. Today I learned the phrase is pass muster, not pass mustard. Oh, fuck. I need to get rid of these fucking boxes under my desk. I keep kicking them accidentally. Once you had disposed of the body, your serving cart became a simple lift cart once more. Which is exactly what we discovered here in the fountain room. And without a serving cart, you had to find some place to put your chocolates.
My chocolates? The ones I was handing out?
As we saw in the sketch, you had originally placed them on top of the cart. But the chocolates you gave us came from your pocket.
Oh yeah, mine was half melted. It was still super sweet and tasty though.
Why did you suddenly feel the need to put the chocolates in your pocket, Miss Bound? It was because you no longer had a serving cart to put them on, that's why. You know, I feel like none of this is solid evidence. This all feels very circumstantial. But, like, it does add up to something that, you know, feels like the most plausible option. I'm just sort of thinking about this because I finally got back to writing my, like, mystery story. And, like, the case that I'm currently writing, the whole gimmick of it is that there is no solid evidence of who the culprit is, but she accidentally incriminates herself. I've given away the gender of the culprit, but the culprit accidentally incriminates themselves by the way they refer to everything going on. And it's like a fun little gimmick that I tried to incorporate into the case. Oops, but who cares? No one reads my shit anyway. Forget. It's fine. It's fine. It probably won't be done for ages considering how slow I've been writing lately. Anyway. Slam!
One moment, please. You have explained what Miss Bound did with the chocolates in the lift cart. But, what about the tablecloth? Where did it go?
Well, what did I just mention earlier? About how she didn't have the white cloth around her waist. Indeed, if stashing the chocolates in her pocket was the only solution she could think of, I doubt Miss Bound had the time to dispose of an entire tablecloth.
Well, Mr. Edgeworth, do you have an answer for me?
Miss Bound didn't hide or dispose of the tablecloth, Your Honor. In fact, it's right here in front of us.
Perhaps you would care to enlighten us? Where exactly is the tablecloth Miss Bound used to hide the body?
It's on Miss Bound's person.
Miss Bound has a tablecloth on her person. And in plain view, in fact.
In plain view? No, surely you don't mean...
Miss Bound. It's the cloth around your waist, isn't it? And given that the Zodiac blocks weren't kept in glass cases, that cloth would have been in direct contact with the ice. All we would need to do to confirm my theory is test that cloth for traces of the sugar used in Mr. Frost's work. The game is up, Miss Bound. It's time to come clean.
You won't need to test the tablecloth. Everything you said is true. I stole Delicia's Infesticide Ultra, and I moved Mr. Frost's body. It was me. It was all me. Delicia, I'm so sorry. Last week, I went into your bag, and I took it. And then, I put it in his pocket, hoping to make it look like he had tried to do himself in. I also made sure to leave no fingerprints but yours, just in case the police suspected foul play. Judy, you... Oh gosh.
Judes, why? Weren't we supposed to be on the same side? All fighting together to free Samson?
We were. But I couldn't afford to get arrested. Not yet. Not until I'd finally proven that Samson is innocent. I always planned to give myself up in the end, I swear. I know it's easy to say that now, but...
Why do it this way, though? It's not like you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fender. I've caused you so much trouble. I've been the guilty party all along. Ever since that day 18 years ago. Are you trying to tell us that the true culprit in the IS-7 incident was you? I committed a terrible crime. I took those sculptures. I stole them purely for selfish reasons. The moment Mr. Frost died, they became more than mere entries in a confectionery contest. They became the final works of Samson's favorite artist. I couldn't allow them to just melt away. Not before he came home. And that meant I couldn't let anybody near them, not even the police. So I hid them. I knew it was wrong, but I just had to. I put them inside the cold storage room for safekeeping. But what I had actually done was far worse than anything I could have possibly imagined.
Because who would have thought that Mr. Frost's body itself was posing as one of the sculptures?
So she didn't know about the body when she stole the sculptures.
Samson is a kind man, a saint.
Oh, is that why he's named after religious figures?
He could never kill anybody. Never. And yet, because of what I did, the police never found Mr. Frost's body, and Samson was found guilty. After all he'd done for me, he was my family. The only family I've ever had. He was the most important in the entire world to me. And
Judes.
After his conviction, I was forced out of our home. I was finally able to return only a few days ago, and when I did, I went to the cold storage room to check up on the sculptures, and that's when I saw it. Mr. Frost's body. It had been there the whole time. Of course, by that point, the statute of limitations had expired. So I did what I did today, because it was the only way I could think of to make things right.
It seems I've misunderstood her intentions. Everything she's done really has all been for Mr. Tangaroa's sake.
Hey, what are you thinking about, Mr. Edgeworth?
Something that's been puzzling me. Why did Miss Bound use poison gas? Why not a more reliable method? And why disguise the Autumn Wing as the Winter Wing? The only reason I can think of is to confuse someone who was here 18 years ago.
Yeah, I wonder what she had in mind.
If she was trying to prove that Mr. Tangaroa is innocent, Miss Bound's ultimate goal must be to find the true killer. Could she have been trying to discover the identity of the true culprit? Miss Bound, your ultimate aim was to see Mr. Tangaroa cleared of all charges, correct? And to that end, you had to expose the real killer and have the police find the body from 18 years ago. Is my understanding of your intentions correct? Exhibiting the sculptures was sure to force the killer to return to the crime scene. After all, they were the only person apart from you who knew that the body was hidden in the icework. So they would have freaked out thinking the body was about to be discovered and come running, yeah? Exactly. But Miss Bound ran the risk that the killer might successfully cover their tracks this time. In the worst case scenario, they may have even been able to remove Mr. Frost's body from the scene. So how could she lure the true killer into revealing themselves without putting vital evidence at risk? Oh, I see what you're getting at. You're saying that's why the Autumn Wing was all winter wingy. I am. You were betting on one thing, Miss Bound, weren't you? That whoever opened the Pisces case you had so carefully disguised as the Gemini case would be the real perpetrator of the IS-7 incident.
No. But that would mean the real killer was...
Enough. Not another word. Do you realize the implications of what you are saying, Mr. Edgeworth?
Are you prepared to stand behind the accusation you are clearly about to make?
Miss Bound set a trap for Mr. Frost's killer, meaning that whoever found themselves caught in that trap is highly likely to be the guilty party. But I lack the evidence to support such an assertion. To accuse someone without any evidence is not done lightly, so... Should I really go ahead and make my accusation and name Mr. Frost's killer nonetheless? Let's do it! Very rarely, when this pops up in an Ace Attorney game, you rarely select no. It's always fucking go for it. My ultimate goal is to see the truth exposed. And to do that, I need to seize the moment. Yes, Judge Gavel, I am prepared to stand by my accusation. I know exactly who is to blame for the IS-7 incident. It's Carmelo Gusto. If you choose no, does the game even continue? It depends. Sometimes you get a penalty. Sometimes the character you're playing as just goes, no, that's not right, I can't do that, and then forces you to go down the path of actually doing it. Sometimes there's a game over. Very rarely. but sometimes. Mr. Gus. Yeah, the second one was what I expected.
Mr. Gusto, the victim of the poison gas, is the perpetrator behind the IS-7 incident.
Gusty?
Mr. Gusto. Miss Bound, as we have established, you knew that the opening of the gallery would lure in the real culprit. And you set up the poison gas trap in order to catch them. Do you dispute the facts thus far?
You're a very impressive man, Mr. Edgeworth. Just like your father. And of course, you're absolutely right.
Then perhaps you could tell us exactly what happened in your own words.
Of course, I have nothing to hide anymore. So I might as well tell you everything. As you said, I set a trap here in the gallery to try and catch Mr. Frost's killer. Before we opened, I made sure that the door to the Autumn Wing was the only one that was unlocked. When opening time came, I went around to unlock the doors to the various rooms, and found that the Autumn Wing had been locked from the inside. The killer is on the other side of the door. The thought, well, it frightened me.
And then she simply walked away, leaving him to fall victim to her poison gas trap.
When I heard that Mr. Gusto was being treated for gas inhalation, that's when I knew he was the murderer. All that was left was for the police to find Mr. Frost's body, and then Samson would finally be proven innocent. At least, that was my plan.
Judes, why didn't you tell me? You know I'm always here for you, right? We could have found another way. It didn't have to be like this.
Is it raining? Oh, it's raining again. If my internet dies, just know it's because it's raining.
Thank you, Mr. Fender. You've been so very kind to me all these years. But I'm the one who created this mess, so it was up to me to try and clean it up. I didn't care what it took, as long as it could get Samson out of that awful place.
Judy, Judy, Judy.
18 years ago, the police managed to cover up the fact that Mr. Frost's body had gone missing. If I went to them now and said it reappeared, I was afraid they might have tried to cover things up again. So I worked to set off a very public incident here in the gallery, in front of as many witnesses as possible.
I'm so sorry, Judy. You, Samson, Gregory, I let you all down.
Fender, this can't be easy for him.
No, I'm the one who should be apologizing. Mr. Edgeworth, Mr. Fender, I hope one day you can forgive me. And whatever punishment I have to face, I'm ready to accept it. But please, if I may ask one thing of you, it's that you simply must clear Samson's name.
The way the truth of these past 18 years had come to light was unexpected, to say the least. And yet, it had only set us down a path towards an even more shocking end. To be continued, and I think that's going to be the end of today's stream. Save your progress, yes. We did end up going the full 3 hours, more or less. I still have to draw a comic strip today, and I have no fucking idea what it's going to be about. Why? Ba-ba-da. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, despite the crash in the middle. I'm going to have to stitch the VOD back together. Fun times. My voice isn't as dead, but that's probably because we're done with Von Karma and Detective Bad. We still, and Gumshoe was barely in this episode, so like all the difficult voices are over and done with. Next time we stream this game, we'll probably finish off the next case, but I don't know if I'm gonna stream it tomorrow. Because I do still... Got a bit of like, good timing. Oh yeah, we did have a brief frame drop there. Very brief. Yeah, because I still need to record. I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get my cover song ready for my streaming anniversary. But I would like to try at least. So I do kind of want to try and record some stuff tomorrow. But so as a result, I don't know if I want to play Ace Attorney tomorrow because, you know, voice. Though I admittedly, if I'm not going to stream Ace Attorney, I don't know what I would stream. Also, I'm just like, oh, yeah, my internet's just straight up dying. That's cool. Dropping a bunch of frames. Perfect timing. Anyway, I will probably still stream tomorrow. Don't know what I'm going to stream, but it will probably be something. It might also be shorter. Now let's find someone to raid before my internet completely dies. Because I'm dropping frames like no one's business. Oh no. All the people I would have raided have already ended. Hi. That was fantastic timing. Oh, we're still dropping frames. You know what? I think we're just gonna fucking end. Let's not mess around with this shit. I'm just gonna end it. I don't want to fuck around with this anymore. If my internet's gonna be shit, I'm just gonna leave. All my friends are offline anyway. It's fine. Yeah, I've already said everything I need to say. Anyway, thanks for watching. Otsukame. Bye. End scene. Jesus Christ.